More than likely, you've used some sort of abbreviation in a text message or on social media, LOL, OMG, WTF, and you know what they mean and what they stand for because you've either used them a lot, or someone has told you what they mean, or you've just seen them. And you know some other common abbreviations as well: USA, NBA, FSHS, Free State High School. But have you ever looked at an abbreviation and not know what it meant or stood for? Like from the government. They love abbreviations. Here's just a few of them. The longest legitimately used abbreviation ever comes from the former government of the Soviet Union. The abbreviation is 56 letters long and stands for the Laboratory for Shuttering Reinforcement Concrete and Ferroconcrete Operations for Composite Monolithic and Monolithic Constructions of the Department of Technology of Building Assembly Operations of the Scientific Research Institute of the Organization for Building Mechanization and Technical Aid of the Academy of Building and Architecture of the USSR. Nonsense. Well, today in this lesson, we're going to look at something that's kind of like an abbreviation. But like the government abbreviations, if you don't know what it means or what it stands for and how to read it and understand it, then it looks like nonsense. This sort of abbreviation is called an exponent, and it's something you'll see a lot and work with a lot in algebra. So I want to make sure that it isn't nonsense for you. Let's take a look. All right, so we're looking at exponents and trying to understand how to write them, how to read them, and how to evaluate using them. So what you're seeing right here is a common way that we write using exponents. Okay? Now let's break down what it is exactly that you are seeing. Okay, this larger number here is called the base. Okay? That's called the base. Okay? That's what's being multiplied multiple times. Okay? So that's what's going to be multiplied. The number up here is called our exponent. Or sometimes you might hear it called the power. Okay? So the base is the number that's going to be multiplied. The exponent or power is telling us how many times we're going to be multiplying that base. Okay? So when we've talked about abbreviations, how the exponent's like an abbreviation, it's abbreviating how many times you're multiplying. So when it says 2 to the 5th power, what that's saying is you're taking 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's what an exponent is saying. It's abbreviating. Instead of writing all those 2's being multiplied, we're saying 2 to the 5th power, is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. It is most definitely not 2 times 5. Okay, you want to be very careful with that. That's written very differently, right? So 2 to the 5th power. Notice how that 5 is smaller in the back. Okay, that's very different than 2 times 5, right? That's very different, and so we wouldn't just take 2 times 5 here. Okay? We're going to take 2 to the 5th power, and we'll look at evaluating that in a second. Okay? So the important things to know here: this number is your base. Okay? That's your base number, and this number is your exponent. Okay? That's your abbreviation. Okay? That's your abbreviation term. So when we say 2 to the 5th power, we're saying that's 2 being multiplied 5 times. Okay, that's 2 being multiplied 5 times. Okay? So let's look at some examples of how to write using an exponent. So number 1, I have 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. But instead of writing out all those 5's, I want to abbreviate it by using an exponent. Okay? So I first want to identify what my base is. Okay? What is your base? Well, the base is the number that's being repeatedly multiplied. So that's 5, right? That's the number we're repeatedly multiplying. So 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is the same thing as 5. And then I'm going to raise it to the exponent or the power. Okay? And the exponent power is how many times are you multiplying it? Well, how many 5's do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 5s. So 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 is equal to 5 to the 4th power. Okay? And that's how we would write that in exponential form. Okay? 5 to the 4th power. All right, let's look at the next one. We have a lot of x's here, right? And we don't want to write all those x's. That's too much, right? That's doing too much, right? We want to abbreviate that a little bit, and so we're going to use an exponent to help us do that. So first, identify your base. What's being repeatedly multiplied? In this case, x, okay, the variable x. And then how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay? I have 7 x's there being multiplied together. Okay? So I'm going to take it to the 7th power. That is x to the 7th power. So that's how I would write this expression using an exponent, x to the 7th power. Number 3, I have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And remember, I know that those are all multiplied because of those parentheses. Okay? Remember, parentheses also indicate multiplication. And so identify the base is negative 2, right? That's what's repeated. So negative 2, and I'm going to keep that in parentheses. Okay, negatives can be kind of tricky with exponents sometimes, so we want to keep them in parentheses to kind of keep it organized. And then how many negative 2's am I multiplying together? 3. So negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, write that in exponential form, is negative 2 to the 3rd power. If you think my 2 looks too much like a z, I'll fix that for you. There you go. Negative 2 to the 3rd power. Our last one. 6. Okay, number 4, 6. So, what's my base? 6. That's the only number that's there. How many times is it being multiplied? Well, it's not being multiplied by any other 6's, okay? And so we would say there's only 1 6. So that's 6 to the 1st power. Okay? That's 6 to the 1st power. But now here's the thing. When we just have to the 1st power, we don't really write that 1st power. Okay? We don't need to do that. So I would just write this as 6. Okay? So 6 in exponential form is just 6 because we don't normally write the 1 in the abbreviation form because it's just the 1. Okay? We understand that there's only 1 6 there and it's not being multiplied with anything else.